When a woman pushes you away, even though she wants you the most, one of the biggest reasons behind it is fear of vulnerability and losing control. Vulnerability is not easy for anyone, but for many women, the moment they start to truly feel connected to a man, they realize how much power they are handing over. When she lets her guard down, she's exposing her emotions, her weaknesses, and even her insecurities. And if she has been hurt before, the thought of putting her heart on the line again can feel terrifying. So instead of leaning closer when she feels strongly about you, she may actually create distance. It's not because she doesn't want you, it's because she wants you so much that she feels out of control, and pulling away gives her back a sense of safety. Think about it from her perspective. All this time, she's been in control of her emotions, guarded and careful. Then suddenly, being with you makes her heart race, her thoughts spin, and her future feel uncertain. That level of emotional intensity is both exciting and overwhelming. So she pushes you away, not as a rejection, but as a defense mechanism. Deep down, she hopes you'll understand that you won't take it personally and that you'll remain steady instead of reacting with anger or desperation. Because when a man can't handle her moments of vulnerability, it confirms her worst fear that opening up will only lead to more pain. This is where many men go wrong. They see her pulling away and immediately think she's lost interest. So they either chase harder or walk away completely. Both of these responses only make her fears worse. Chasing makes her feel suffocated and proves she was right to pull back. Walking away confirms that men can't handle her true emotions. The right response is to stay calm, confident, and centered. When you remain consistent without pressuring her, you show her that her vulnerability isn't something to fear, it's something you can handle with strength and patience. What's important to understand is that her pushing you away has less to do with you and more to do with what's happening inside of her. It's her fight between desire and self protection. She wants to surrender to the connection, but her instincts warn her that surrender equals danger. It's not your job to fix her fears, but it is your responsibility, if you truly want her, to demonstrate stability. Your strength reassures her that even when she feels out of control, she's safe with you. In reality, when a woman pushes you away at the height of her feelings, it's one of the clearest signs she cares deeply. If she didn't, she wouldn't bother creating distance. She simply wouldn't be invested at all. The push is a test of whether you can handle her truth, her rawness, and her hidden fears. Handle it with grace, and you show her that letting her guard down with you is not a risk, but a relief. Because when she feels safe to be vulnerable, that's when she stops pushing away and starts pulling closer than ever. When a woman pushes you away right at the point where her emotions for you are strongest, often it's not because she doesn't care, it's because she is testing your emotional strength. Women, whether they are fully aware of it or not, want to know that the man they're investing their feelings in can handle the full weight of who they are. She doesn't want someone who will crumble under pressure, who will get insecure the moment she shows uncertainty, or who will lose his cool when things aren't smooth. By creating space, by pulling back when you least expect it, she's watching to see how you react. Do you start chasing desperately? Do you bombard her with calls and messages? Do you lash out in frustration? Or do you stay steady, patient, and calm? Showing her that you are the kind of man who won't break when things get difficult? This kind of test is not about games in the shallow sense. It's deeper than that. For a woman, especially one who feels strongly about you, emotions can be overwhelming. She knows that if she gives herself fully, she's trusting you with her heart. That trust can't be handed over lightly. So she needs reassurance, not in the form of words you say, but in the way you carry yourself. when things don't go perfectly. By stepping back, she's asking, are you strong enough to hold steady while I figure out my emotions? Can you handle me even when I'm not easy to handle? Most men fail this test because they panic. The moment she withdraws, they think they're losing her, and instead of holding their ground, they react from fear. They start overcompensating, texting nonstop, begging for reassurance, demanding answers. What they don't realize is that this behavior communicates weakness. It tells her that you need her constant validation to feel secure, which makes her question if you're truly the kind of man she can lean on. Instead of making her feel safe, it makes her feel like she has to take care of you emotionally, and that's the opposite of what she wants. But the man who passes this test doesn't chase, doesn't beg, and doesn't spiral into insecurity. He respects her space, continues focusing on his own life, and allows her to come back when she's ready. His calmness tells her everything she needs to know, that he's not shaken by temporary distance, that his sense of self-worth isn't tied to her every move, and that he's strong enough to be the anchor in the storm. This is what truly draws her in, because it shows her she doesn't need to worry about whether he can handle her highs and lows. He's proven it through his actions. So when she pushes you away in this way, don't see it as rejection. See it as an opportunity to demonstrate quiet strength. Don't react, just remain grounded. Because once she realizes you're unshaken, she'll understand that you're not just another man. You're the kind of man who can stand firm when her emotions test the limits. And that strength is exactly what makes her want you even more. When a woman pushes you away, even though deep down she wants you most, often it has less to do with you and more to do with the battles happening inside her own mind. Overthinking and insecurity can twist her feelings into knots, making her doubt what she actually desires. The truth is, the stronger her feelings become, the louder her inner voice of fear often grows. She starts imagining scenarios where things fall apart, where she gets hurt, or where her emotions aren't reciprocated. Instead of leaning into the connection, she retreats because the intensity scares her. It's not that she doesn't want you, it's that she can't quiet the storm of thoughts convincing her that wanting you is dangerous. When emotions are strong, the human mind naturally wants to protect itself. For many women, that means questioning everything. Does he really care about me, or is he just saying the right things? What if he leaves once I let my guard down? Am I even enough for him in the long run? These doubts may not align with reality, but they feel real to her in a moment. That's why she might distance herself, not to push you out of her life, but to try to regain control over feelings that seem overwhelming. She may convince herself that by pulling away, she's protecting her heart from disappointment. The mistake many men make in this moment is taking her retreat personally. They believe her pulling back is proof she doesn't care, so they either withdraw completely or chase after her frantically. Both reactions feed her insecurity. If you withdraw too much, her fears of abandonment feel confirmed. If you chase desperately, it makes her feel suffocated and adds pressure she's not ready to handle. What she actually needs is balance. Your ability to show consistency without panic, reassurance without neediness, and patience without frustration. Handling a woman's insecurity requires strength, not strength in words alone, but in the way you carry yourself when her emotions shift. If you remain calm, keep living your purpose, and show through your actions that you're steady, she will gradually silence those voices of doubt. Over time, she will begin to believe that maybe this connection is safe, and maybe her fears don't have to dictate her choices, and maybe she can allow herself to want you fully without running away. And the beauty in these moments is that they test not only her willingness to open up, but also your ability to provide emotional security. A woman caught in her insecurities doesn't want a man who mirrors her fear. She wants a man who embodies the opposite of it. By being steady, patient, and unshaken, You're showing her that her doubts don't define your bond. You're showing her that love can exist without fear at the center of it. So when she pushes you away because her insecurities are too loud, don't fall into the trap of panic or resentment. Recognize it for what it is, her inner struggle, not her rejection. If you can hold steady while she wrestles with herself, you give her the chance to see that her fears are temporary, but your presence is not. That's when she realizes you are not just someone she wants, you are someone she can truly trust. Sometimes the reason a woman pushes you away, even though she wants you most, has nothing to do with the present moment and everything to do with her past. Emotional baggage and trust issues are powerful forces that shape how she responds to intimacy. If she has been hurt before, lied to, abandoned, or betrayed, closeness doesn't just feel exciting, it feels dangerous. Every time she feels herself getting drawn toward you, her mind pulls up memories of the times she trusted and paid the price for it. Instead of letting herself sink into the comfort of your arms, she creates distance as a shield, convincing herself that space is safety. It's important to understand that these actions don't mean she doesn't care. In fact, the more she cares, the more her past fears are triggered. Love becomes a reminder of the times she loved and ended up broken. Vulnerability becomes a reminder of the moments she opened up and had her trust shattered. So even if she feels pulled toward you with intensity, she might push you away in hopes of protecting herself from repeating old mistakes. It's her mind's way of saying, don't let this happen again. The danger in these situations is when a man mistakes her retreat as rejection. If he responds with anger, resentment, or neediness, it only reinforces her fears. She begins to think, this is exactly why I shouldn't let anyone close, because people always end up hurting me or demanding too much. On the other hand, if he withdraws completely and gives up, it confirms her belief that people always leave when she isn't perfect. Neither reaction helps her heal, and both prove her negative expectations right. What truly matters in these moments is patience and understanding. You don't heal her past by convincing her with words, but by showing consistency over time. By not overreacting to her pulling back, by not taking her fears personally, and by maintaining your composure, you slowly rewrite the story in her mind. You give her evidence that not every man leaves, not every connection ends in betrayal, and not every ounce of vulnerability will be used against her. This doesn't mean you should tolerate endless push and pull without boundaries. It means you should recognize that her behavior isn't always about you, it's about wounds she hasn't fully healed. The more you stay steady, the more she begins to trust that you're different. The truth is, trust isn't built in a single moment. It's built in the spaces where she expects abandonment but finds stability instead, where she expects judgment but receives patience, and where she expects disappointment but finds consistency. Over time, her walls begin to lower. She realizes that while her past shaped her, it doesn't have to control her future. And the very thing she feared, letting herself love again, becomes the one thing that finally sets her free. So when a woman pushes you away because of past baggage, don't rush to fix her or to run from her. Simply be steady enough to show her that you are not the ghost of her past. You are the proof that love can feel safe again. Another reason a woman may push you away when she actually wants you most comes from her deep fear of losing control over her emotions. Love is powerful, and when she begins to feel too much, too fast, it can scare her. For many women, being vulnerable feels like stepping into unknown territory where they no longer have the upper hand. If she's used to being in control of her choices, her independence, and her emotions, then suddenly being overwhelmed by strong feelings for you may feel like she's losing a part of herself. That fear can lead her to pull back, not because she doesn't want you, but because she wants to regain her balance. The more she feels herself falling for you, the more her instincts tell her to create distance so she doesn't lose herself completely. This is often why you might see her alternate between closeness and withdrawal. She gets close, feels the intensity of her emotions rising, and then retreats to reestablish control. It's almost like an internal battle. One part of her wants to dive into the connection, while another part warns her that losing control might make her too dependent, too vulnerable, or too exposed. Men often misinterpret this behavior as mixed signals or immaturity, but in reality, it's her defense mechanism. She may have been raised to believe that being too emotional or too dependent is a weakness. She may have even been criticized in past relationships for being too much when she let her emotions flow freely. So now that she finds herself truly wanting you, she pushes back just enough to make sure she doesn't lose herself in the process. The worst thing you can do as a man in this situation is to pressure her or demand more when she withdraws. That will only intensify her fear and make her pull back further. Instead, what works best is calmness and self-assurance. If you can give her space without chasing, if you can remain steady without questioning her every move, she begins to realize that her fear of losing control isn't necessary around you. She starts to see that she can both feel deeply and still be herself without judgment or suffocation. Think of it like holding water in your hands. If you squeeze too tightly, the water escapes between your fingers. But if you hold your hands open and steady, the water rests comfortably in your palms. The same principle applies here. The steadier and calmer you are, the more she feels safe letting go of her need to control everything. She learns that her emotions can flow freely without drowning her or the relationship. Over time, as she sees you consistently handle her pullbacks with maturity, she realizes that losing control of her emotions doesn't mean losing herself. It simply means she's safe enough to let her guard down. And when she finally accepts that truth, she will stop pushing you away and instead lean fully into the connection she's always wanted. In the end, her fear of losing control is really just a fear of losing herself. And when you show her that love can exist without erasing her identity, she'll finally allow herself to stay close instead of running away. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the reason a woman pushes you away when she wants you most has nothing to do with you directly and everything to do with her past. If she has experienced heartbreak, betrayal, or deep disappointment before, her subconscious will often try to protect her from going through the same pain again. When she feels herself developing strong emotions for you, her heart and her mind may not be in sync. Her heart longs to move closer, but her mind warns her of what happened the last time she allowed herself to get too close to someone. This creates an inner conflict where the safest thing, in her eyes, is to create distance, even though that's the opposite of what she truly desires. It's important to realize that this behavior is a reflection of her fear, not a lack of attraction or interest. In fact, the more she cares about you, the more likely she is to push you away if her past wounds haven't healed. A woman who has been deeply hurt might associate vulnerability with danger. She might believe that opening her heart again will only end in the same cycle of disappointment. So, to protect herself, she withdraws just when her feelings for you are strongest. This is why patience becomes so crucial for a man in this position. If you take her pushing away as rejection and either chase her desperately or cut her off coldly, you reinforce her belief that love leads to pain. But if you respond with composure, empathy, and steadiness, you show her a different possibility that love can also mean safety, stability, and growth. It doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or begging for attention, but it does mean understanding that her mixed signals might be rooted in unhealed experiences rather than disinterest. The mistake many men make is personalizing her pullback as if it's an attack on their worth or masculinity. But when you see it for what it really is, her struggle with trust, you can handle it without letting your own ego get in the way. When she distances herself, instead of panicking, you maintain your own sense of purpose, continue living your life, and remain present without pressuring her. That balance allows her to slowly rebuild her faith that intimacy doesn't always end in pain. Over time, as she watches how you respond to her hot and cold behavior, her defenses begin to weaken. She notices that you're not punishing her for being afraid, you're not trying to control her emotions, and you're not abandoning her when she pulls back. This consistency can be healing for her in ways you may not even realize. It proves that her past doesn't have to dictate her future, and that being close to a man doesn't always mean getting hurt. In the end, when a woman pushes you away because of her past, it's not the distance that defines the outcome, it's your response. If you react with fear, neediness, or anger, you confirm her worst expectations. But if you remain steady, patient, and confident, you give her the space to overcome those old wounds and allow herself to move toward the love she really wants with you. And when she finally realizes that you are not the same as the men who hurt her, she will stop running and start choosing closeness over distance.